Dyna Blaster. It's a Bomberman, baby. Amigos, episode 305. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Bomberman. Aaron, I know that you were kind of a prankster, a scallywag in your younger days. Did you ever do any, I'm not going to ask you if you ever bombed anything because that sounds horrible. But did you ever do the old cherry bomb in the toilet routine?
That is bombing something, to be fair.
It is. And
no.
It actually is a pretty destructive act, but.
No, I've never done that. I'm not a big explosives guy. I worked with a guy who blew off his hand, okay? And he had a hook for a hand. And he would reminisce about all the times he would play with explosives, and then he would show the hook. Don't do that. This is a true story. I worked with him. He blew his hand off with fireworks. All right, that actually happens. It's not just a deterrent. So I didn't fiddle with explosives or firecrackers all that much. Really, the only thing I ever did that was really bomb related is I helped some buddies of mine back before anyone gave a crap build a pipe bomb in my buddy's side yard with instructions we got off the BBSs for, I think it was from the it was one of the
Anarchist Cookbook.
It probably was the Anarchist Cookbook, where you literally take a pipe, and I remember you have to shave stuff off batteries and do a bunch of weird hocus pocus, and bam, it did explode with a concussive might that shook the whole area and put huge chunks of lead into my buddy's garage about yay big.
Holy cow.
Yeah, this was the real deal. And of course, if this was modern times, we would have been summarily murdered for doing that. Yeah. But at the time, no one knew what was going on. So what about you? Did you do anything destructive with bombs?
No, I've never, I don't think I've ever had anything more powerful than a Roman candle in my hand. Even, for large portions of my life and your life too, fireworks were illegal. You couldn't buy them technically. And now anything goes. I mean, you can get whatever you want.
What happened? Because I remember having to go, but the old man would drive us across the border. That shtick. Think about that for a minute. It's too violent for West Virginia, but in Kentucky, you're golden, or Ohio.
Well, I think that's why the law has changed, because people realized that was incredibly stupid.
But is it? Really we often lament how dumb people are. Do we want all these dummies with high explosives now? I don't think I do.
Well, you're right. Would you consider yourself, I know that your brother, he's a big fireworks guy. Every year he puts on an exhibition that rivals none other in the driveway of his abode.
That's true.
Does he follow you in that regard?
Well, clearly not. Listen, the Brent's a madman. Every year he puts on a tremendous display for all of his buddies. I remember one year he blew up his own mailbox. That was pretty cool. But he gets all those crazy fireworks. They're like little cars that race around in his driveway and stuff that goes up and blows up in like 10 different ways. It's just he does a good job. But every time he does it, I'm afraid he's gonna shoot one of the fireworks at somebody's house and catch it on fire. Because he's done that too, but not catch it on fire.
It's exciting and terrifying at the same time.
I guess that's part of it.
Speaking of fireworks, does it seem like to you that kids are not as wowed by fireworks today as they used to be? I was at the old West Virginia Power game the other day, and they were setting off fireworks. Actually, this was at Symphony Sunday. They had set off fireworks at the end, and the kids are just like, they look up, and they're back at the phone. They've got their hands over their ears, and they were looking at their phone in their lap. It's that's
depressing.
Fireworks continue to wow me. I continue to be impressed by fireworks whenever I see them.
Well, there's something to be said for the simple pleasures of a bright light and a big noise. But, when I was a kid, we used to go to the old Sternwheel Regatta. They'd have fireworks every night, and they'd also break out the laser show. And I think the laser show and the fireworks have both gone in the same direction. I mean, when you saw that stuff, it was like, holy smokes, I can't see lasers or huge explosions anywhere. But now I can see walking dinosaurs and ghosts, all crap on TV. Nothing surprises you. Nothing.
Right.
And so, plus, I'm telling you right now, the great deity of the sky could descend on Earth and people would not stop looking at their phones. There's a 0% chance. People could be on fire. And as they run towards the lake, they're like checking their Facebook or whatever. There's nothing that can be done to stop them, so I'm not terribly surprised they didn't look up.
I've never been to a laser show before. Would you recommend those?
You know, you know what makes me sick? I love ELO. You may have heard that. They came to Charleston.
Were they at the regatta?
No, God, no. But they did come. They did. This is when it's sort of the down period for ELO. But after they've had their, I don't know if it was before their last big hit, but it was like the late '80s that time. And they came here and played the Civic Center with an orchestra, and they also had lasers. And I would hear bands come through with lasers. And sometimes, like I know Pink Floyd toured with lasers, a laser show, but they weren't there. It was just the lasers.
What?
Yeah, it was the lasers and their music, and they'd play it. There'd be a laser show in the arena.
Okay. It was indoors.
Yeah, it was inside the Civic Center or whatever. So that was a thing. But lasers were cool, and at the regatta, they were just so new. They were like something out of Star Wars or Star Trek or something. People all thought just they were neat, but that's something else. I mean, we didn't have laser pointers and crap. Now, if I want to see a laser, I just go in there to get the one I play with the cat with it and just go like, and shine on the wall. Not quite as cool.
Yeah, you're right. It's the commoditization of lasers.
I feel bad for people. They missed out by being smarter and having better stuff than us. They missed out on the dumb guy pleasures of crap that they don't care about now.
Would you ever go back to the regatta?
Oh God, yes, absolutely. It was great.
I've never been to the regatta before.
That's good.
This is
it's been
shocking.
Gone for a long time. Yeah.
Do you think? Oh, really? It wasn't just gone because of COVID?
They haven't had regatta for decades, Boat.
No.
Are you nuts?
Listen, the Beach Boys are there like every year. I hear about it all the time on Super 102.
They haven't had a regatta for like 20 years or more.
I might not have listened to Super 102 in a while.
No kidding.
Maybe that's
I knew the regatta was in trouble when they banned all the boats. That's never a good sign. Like that was one of the last years.
You're right. That's not. I do remember they tried banning beer for a while.
They did ban beer, and that was.
Yeah.
Listen, if you're not drunkenly piloting a boat across the river, no one wants to go. What lasers are shooting at you?
When I picture the regatta, I picture that video I shared in the Discord of the guy of the Hulk Hogan music playing.
That was the best thing. The guy staying on the boat, shooting off the fireworks in his underpants while he's lifting weights. That was American as everything. I loved it.
Yeah. Well, you know what else is American as anything, Aaron? That's this week's Amiga news.
Do you mean the news filled with British news? Is that the one you're talking about?
That's the one.
Amiga news.
All right, Aaron, we're going to kick things off with an update, a 21-year-old update on a classic Amiga platform. This is the Hippo mod player. It was last updated in 2000, but it came out of the woodwork, and the Swedish coder, which I will not try and pronounce his name at this point. Okay, go ahead, Aaron. Take it.
Kojanen. That's his
name.
There
you go.
I pronounced perfectly.
I will say that Lobsterminator, he sent me a recording because he's from Finland. He sent me a recording of himself saying and it was Karibekka Koljonen. Karibekka Koljonen. There we go.
That's what I said.
Yeah. So he wrote this thing in 1994, and it was updated, all throughout the Amiga's life and really into its death, in its commercial death at least. But after 2000, it was like Mr. Karabika just gave up the ghost. But for some reason, he's decided to bring it back to much fanfare. I guess this thing is corrected a lot of bugs. You can now have a mod library that will truly play random stuff. I guess Lobsterminator was the one who was on the case. I think he might have fixed that bug himself in the official release. So make sure you check it out. The Hippo player is back. You can download it on GitHub and play mods to your heart's content. And we want to thank, of course, Amiga Love for being the one to break this story.
We love you, Love. Good stuff. That's great news, by the way. Even I use the old Hippo player myself, so it's a must. It's a must use.
Now, we've got a pretty important birthday in the Amiga community this week, Aaron. Amiga Bill. Amiga Bill's birthday was this week, and the colossal internet community that supports Amiga Bill and all of his endeavors was collected to put together a special happy birthday video. I was part of this. Were you part of this, Aaron?
I was not. No.
You were not invited. I see how
No.
it is.
No.
But anyway, you owe it to yourself. This is so well done. It's people doing wacky things with Amigas. At one point, somebody saws an Atari ST in half.
Oh.
It looks like a little
What
bit
they
of a
gonna do
laser
that
light show
for?
there too.
Yeah.
But anyway, happy birthday, Bill. Make sure you watch this video. It's a salute to Bill. It's a salute to all the good work that he does in the community. Check it out, and happy birthday,
Yeah.
Bill.
Happy birthday, Bill. Bill's great.
All right, Aaron. Now you're gonna handle this one. This is the first look at the Checkmate A1500 mini desktop case. This is our boy Neil.
Yes. Yes. RMC gets a couple of these in the mail here, and from Steven, and he goes through it. It's actually interesting to see these things. They're obviously smaller than the last Checkmate, but they're not tiny. They're still buckets of space. And it's funny to watch him. Neil decides to put his Vampire standalone in his. And I will say, but I want to get to the part where he actually slides this thing in. I've got to give him credit for the way they did this. See how it slides in? He actually takes the screws out of the back of the Vampire, the little screws for the adapters in the back, and just takes those same screws and slides them through the holes in the back of the 1500, and they just screws them right back in, and that's how the thing stays in there.
That is intelligent engineering, is what that is.
I got to give him
Some thought
credit.
went into this case.
Now look at how snazzy that looks. It's got everything ready to go. I mean, Neil mentions that when he when he made his Mr. Fusion case out of the larger Checkmate, I watched that video. It was a two-parter. It took him forever, and he was using hot glue and everything he could to make it to fit it in there. And of course, that's even more ludicrous because the Mister is tiny, and that case is enormous. You know,
Right.
I've had apartments that were smaller than that first case. This case is probably a lot more. It would make a little more sense for something like that. But you can do a lot of stuff with these. I mean, they're built to do different types of PC cases and Raspberry Pis. I think it's Edu has put this wacky thing together called the Mystics. I don't know if you're familiar with the Mystics.
No.
The Mystics is a card that you plug your Mister into that extends all the ports out to fit this case effectively.
Okay.
I think it's to fit an ITX case. I think it's what it fits. That's what this is compatible with. And so and it also gives you a few extra. I think it gives you two 9-pin joystick ports as well. You'll recall that on Neil's earlier build, he went out and bought USB adapters to 9-pin. I guess a dude just sort of added those in, So
boy, I tell you, this is the Checkmate 1500 case. Like you said, it's a massive beast. It's not really that big, but it's big. This little mini desktop case, it's cute. I love the way that all the components slot in so neatly. This would be, I would be much more likely to purchase something like this, maybe with a matching mechanical keyboard of some kind.
Which is funny you should mention that, because Neil also lamented, what keyboard should I put on this thing? And he had this little black number, but he didn't like the way it looked, so he got a crap load of Amiga keycaps, two different types. And then he basically transferred them to this keyboard he bought, which the keyboard he bought's a little bit like the one I've got here. It's one of these sort of mechanical keyboards that you get that are fairly cheap. Like, I really love this one. I was guessing his is very similar. So he just puts them on there. The problem, he runs into a couple little problems, and these are very minute, Boat. One of the problems he runs into is that this keyboard, much like mine, is supposed to light up with a bunch of cool colors, but for whatever reason, it doesn't light up. And it's probably something to do with the way the Mister outputs the keyboard. Who knows? Or maybe it's that power thing. He also mentions that when he turns the power off on the power supply, it sort of doesn't stay off. It kind of, it doesn't fully shut down the capacitors, and there's enough charge left in there to keep this thing sort of running in a weird way. But again, these aren't really huge problems. And the case is really the key for this. It's not necessarily the Vampire. And the case is a good-looking case. And I agree. I think it's pretty versatile. And I think I know also Edu has put together an Amiga that's specifically made for a case like this as well. So which is sort of, if you don't want to go and shell out for the Mister, you could always go the route of just getting the Amiga that has all the newer Amigas are much better than the one I've got, and like I said, this one's specifically made to fit this case. So a lot of options.
I've sort of poo-pooed the idea of the new sort of mechanical keyboards that are all the rage, but between you and Neil, you're kind of winning me over. I feel like I might need to get, because they come in so many different variations. I saw one that was blue and orange that just looked so cool. And plus, like you said, you can get custom keycaps for them.
Yeah.
I could get, I use the Mister all the time with the Atari. I could even replace some of the F keys with, custom keycaps with start select option and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's an arresting case. I may need to do that.
I'll tell you something, Boatster, and I'll move. I got this keyboard a couple months ago, and it's a Red Dragon keyboard. And I got this and the mouse that came with it for like under $50. And I could beat a man to death with this keyboard. It's weighty, okay? And the keys, I have used a mechanical keyboard for years. I used one of the old IBM ones. And so when I got this thing, I had certain specifications that I demanded. And this fulfills all my desires, plus the fact it's just really cool looking. You can program in which sort of lighting effects you want, or if you want them or don't want them, and it's awesome. It's just awesome. Yeah. Having a lit keyboard of this quality, it's a keyboard that that's far better than any I've ever owned. The one I got for my Mister project, it's sort of the step down from this one. It's not as weighty, but it works perfectly in the Mister, which is all I need. So yeah, I'm telling you, you could do worse. You could do
now.
Worse.
Do you actually have two of those keyboards? You've got one in the Mister and one that you just held up.
Yeah, I don't know if I can whip this around.
So the Mister, yeah, it's the exact same one that fit in the case.
Your choices are. Let me move this for a second, Boat. Your choices are limited because Dave's case fits. This design fits one keyboard, but that's the keyboard. You can see it fits in there snug. And it's not and it works great. It's a beautiful piece of kit, and so it's one I would recommend. If, like I said, Dave does a great job on those. Dave sells those, by the way. If you're interested, drop me a note. I'll set you up. But you can't go wrong with the modern mechanical keyboard, Boaster. They're great.
All right. Well, so
get ready to hear the robot
check out
again.
Neil's video.
Hold the phone. I knew he was coming back. I knew it. That stupid robot, he always comes around. I'm sorry. Carry on, Boat.
So, check out Neil's video. You can see the differences between the big checkmate and the little checkmate.
Yeah.
And maybe it's time to stick your vampire into something more comfortable, if you know what I'm saying.
I agree, Boat.
All right. We're moving down the video train here, and we got another one coming right up from our boy, everybody's boy, Chris Edwards.
This one just popped. I'm gonna pull it up here real quick, and then this the only reason I mentioned this one, Boat, because it is Amiga related, and Chris does a lot of wacky stuff, and it just popped up a couple of hours ago. He's exploring the Athlon XP Amiga. Now, what is this, you might ask? And I've only got to flip through this video, but this is a project that you use an old Athlon processor and motherboard. And certain pre-made software to basically turn it into an Amiga. I used to have an Athlon back in the day. In fact, I might have one lying around here somewhere, Boat. But Chris sort of gives you the scoop here. He reminds me so much. He works a lot like I do. Just he's always got a colossal mess lying around. He's got a bunch of crap lying around just like I do. He's got a cool robot like I got. So he's my kind of guy. And he's a sketchy tech too, that's for sure. But you can see he's got an old-fashioned motherboard there. You got some PCI slots on that sucker. You got a AGP slot. The Athlon was a processor that was made by AMD that was like a Pentium competitor back in the day. And they have put together a package to allow this thing to run like in a native Amiga mode effectively.
Now, why are you able to do that with an Athlon processor and not with other kinds?
I can't tell you.
Okay,
I've heard of this project, but I don't know any of the actual intricate details, and maybe he goes into them. on this. I'm not sure, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
And if you've got an old PC, they've got that gimmick. You've heard about this gimmick for the old Macs. You could make those into Amigas. This is sort of the same thing. So if you're into that stuff, you might have a good time here with this. It's kind of neat.
Awesome. All right, and our final video this week comes to us from it's not strictly an Amiga video, and by not strictly I mean not at all. This is a video from the Macintosh librarian Kate Fox, friend of the show. She is back at it again. Tell us about this, Aaron.
So I give Kate credit because she was able to make me care about the Mac in some capacity. Let me try to dig this up real quick and have it linked. So what she did was, let me type this in.
It's there on the news site, man. I'm looking at it.
For whatever reason, it's not coming up on mine. Here it is. So it's a do-it-yourself Mackie. Now, if you watch her show, Mackie is sort of like the mascot. Let's cut to the chase. He's a talking, childlike Mac. Okay.
Yes.
If you want the truth, I've got a Mackie right here that Kate sent me. Here he is.
I've got one right behind me,
Mackie. He's cute as the day is long. And so who wouldn't want a little Mackie? Because I got one. It's great. Well, heck, why not? Why wait? And why not go the extra mile and actually make Mackie functional? And by God, that's what she does in this video. She takes and has a 3D printed Mackie, and then she actually gets a Raspberry Pi, sticks that old little Mackie, and makes a functional Mackie. And she goes through all the steps, how she did it, the software, the whole 9 yards. And at the end of the day, puts this thing together. I mean, the screen, everything, Bo. Look at that.
I love it.
There
Man,
it is.
It looks so good.
Look at that. Now, she freely admits that you're not going to be using little Mackie for a lot of, say, desktop publishing.
Yeah.
I mean, the capability's there, but what are you going to do?
The screen size is limited, to say the least.
That's right. But still, it's a neat project. I got to give Kate credit. Because she's got a lot of guts. She's done a couple projects I thought were pretty gutsy. Especially, and anytime you're fooling around with Macs, that's the big money boat. If I go out here and wreck an old PC or something, no one cares. But these Macs that's the big money.
Yeah.
And once you wreck them, they ain't coming back. You know that. So.
Yeah. But
this was a neat project, so I wanted to give her a little dap here. Check out her channel, Macintosh Librarian. If you have any interest in the Mac, or even if you just want to learn something or be entertained, it's good stuff. Like, I have practically no interest in Mac, and I love the channel. Great stuff.
All right, Aaron, and we wrap things up with our new retro hardware pick of the week from Retro Rewind. This is a new one, Aaron. This just dropped on the shop. Now, Aaron, as a former professional technician, you have some experience.
Professional technician, Boat.
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot you're a technician even today.
What are you doing to me here, Boat?
I think about your work when you work for IBM as a sort of a different thing, but you're really doing a lot of the same things.
That's
so
right.
I apologize. You've pulled some ICs before in your life, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I sure have.
Yeah. Don't you wish you had a way to straighten out the chips after you yank one of those suckers out and all the legs are bent all akimbo?
Yeah, I hate that.
Well, wonder no more with what to do. You can go over to Retro Rewind and get a dip chip straightener, Aaron. This thing is it does what it says. You stick your IC in there and it straightens the legs so you can use it again.
I can't tell you the number of times I've bent these things up. Especially back in the day where you were swapping in and out cache and stuff in these old PC boards. I'd bend these things all to heck. And if you're looking at what this is, it's so simple, and I'm kicking myself. Like, I'm looking at this, I'm like, that would work great. Why didn't I do that? It's very clever. If it's a very clever implementation, the price is right, as always. It's got the logo on there. It looks good. Listen, everyone should have. This is a lot like the door park piece of cardboard for the drive park. Like, everyone should have one just in case. And these are, normally when I was telling Bo before the show, I normally bent my pins back with just a pair of pliers. Well, that don't work too good. And then you can always get to that point where you break a pin off and then you're screwed. So this would be a much easier way to go. I think it's an excellent choice you've made this week, Boat. Everyone should hop over to Retro Rewind and give this a shot.
Yeah, and remember, you can save 10% off this or any order over at Retro Rewind by using the promo code Amigos10 at checkout, and we thank RetroRewind.ca for sponsoring this week's episode.
Yes. Thank you very much.
All right, Aaron, it's time to talk Dyna Blaster.
Outstanding. So, Dyna Blaster. I was going to ask you, did you mention the term Dyna Blaster in your open to this show?
Yeah,
Did you?
I said Dyna Blaster.
I thought you said Bomberman. Like, you were being very clever there at the end, because the term is interchangeable on this particular game. Now, we covered a long time ago. I mean, I was like in the 200s. We covered a public domain version of Bomberman, and I believe it was called Master Blaster, Boat.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
In fact, I went back and watched some of the footage of that just so I could compare and contrast. So this time around, we're not doing any PD stuff. This is the real deal here, Boat. Dyna Blaster released in 1992 on one disc, and this was published by Hudson Soft. Hudson Soft, very famous for their NES offerings and for their really total dedication to the TurboGrafx / PC Engine. They were involved in its design, its production, and support of many games for that. So Hudson had a ton of great games. Unfortunately, their output on the Amiga was confined to, they were behind 2 games on the Amiga. They published them, and it was this one and another one of our favorites, Yo Joe, which is interesting that was one of them. This game has the ability, Boat, to allow you to have up to 5 simultaneous players. And we'll get into that a little bit more in a moment. But this game was well traveled. Again, this was called Dyna Blaster. I guess we should get into the name before we get real deep into it. So, why is this called Dyna Blaster and not, by its normal terming, Bomberman? Well, from what I read, there was really only one explanation, and I read this everywhere that I tried to find information. I'm sure you could probably guess what it is about. In Europe, where this was released as Dyna Blaster, it was due to European mainstream media associating the original name with terrorist bombings. That's it. So this was strictly a terrorist thing. I don't think they were as... I don't think the term Bomberman instantly makes you think of terrorists, but you can see where people could make that determination, Boat.
Right. Well, this is definitely more understandable than the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
I agree. That's
because
true.
ninjas not so much of a threat in modern day Europe, but maybe terrorists, yes.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Bomberman or Dyna Blaster, and we'll use those two terms interchangeably in this. This got a multitude of releases, and we'll get into the number of different games that are called have Bomberman in the title. But this got released on the TurboGrafx, the Atari ST, of course the PC Engine. It was the same thing. The NES got a release. DOS, the 68,000. I think the C60. I could not determine if the C64. The manual states that there's a C64 version of this. Okay. I found C64 versions of this, but no, I couldn't find any called Dyna Blaster, and I also couldn't be sure that they weren't homebrews. There's a bunch of homebrews of this, so I'm assuming there is an official C64 version. Did you actually see a C64 version?
Let me give you let me drop some knowledge.
Yeah, please, dude.
So, and this comes from none other than Neil himself, because we did a story about a game that was similar to Bomberman that has just been recovered called Mrs. Dynamite, and we were questioning whether Bomberman had some influence on it. And I guess Bomberman first appeared way back in 1980 as part of a Hudson Soft basic programming package. So Hudson Soft was selling, programming tools, and Bomberman was a sample game that they included. So the roots of Bomberman stretch back way before the NES version, which I always thought was the first version of the game.
Yeah, it's funny because that's, according to Wiki and a couple other sources I looked at, what you're saying is exactly what they have written down. I listened to your show, by the way, this week, and I did note that. I thought it was interesting. According to everyone else on Earth, this game debuted in Japan December 20th of 85, and was in the NES, the original, the Famicom. And of course has went on to. I mean, Bomberman's went on to star in like over 70 games according to this.
Yeah.
That's ludicrous. That he's been in. That this concept has been used, and this is an environmentally safe game. It's been recycled over and over and over and over again. So one would wonder. Now, I see that Ricky says in the chat there is no official C64 version. That's sort of what I thought, but it is mentioned in the manual. That's what threw me. I don't know if you looked at, and by the way, the manual for this is slight, to say the least. Well, you don't really need that much, but they did mention.
What do you
version.
want here?
Yeah. So, what is Bomberman? Bo, this is far more your game than mine. Can you explain to the folks what this exactly is? What is this game?
Sure. So if you've never played Bomberman before and you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, what you have is you have an overhead perspective of a maze. And the maze has some obstacles that are destructible, brick walls or other things, and they have some obstacles in the maze are not. Your job in Bomberman is to place bombs and make them explode to either explode the explodable walls or the enemies that are kind of lurking about. The object of the game is to find to destroy all the enemies and to bomb the exit, which is hidden, and then escape and go on to the next level. That's basically Bomberman in a nutshell. Where Bomberman shines is in its multiplayer mode, because when you're just destroying the monsters that are roaming about, I mean, that's okay. But what is really fun is getting in there and playing with your friends, because you do not have control by default of when the bombs explode. So there are bombs being set everywhere, and things are all going off at different times, and it adds an unpredictability to the game that really makes it fun. I've always kind of thought about the board game, Robo Rally, where you set up your plan, that you turning over the cards or moving your robot, and all of a sudden things go incredibly wrong because of something you didn't realize. This is sort of the video game version of that.
I love Robo Rally, and I'm listen, I don't like this game. I never have. I'm just going to come out and say it. I've said it before. Now, part of this, I've always heard that the appeal of this game is multiplayer. And I've played a couple of rounds with people. But for the most part, my gaming on this has been as a solo. All right. And you sort of nailed it. As a solo game where you just go around and bomb these blocks and look for the exit, this is not that great. I mean, honestly, it doesn't provide me with that much fun.
Yeah.
And this is one of those games you always hear about when people talk about playing at parties, all right? Big parties. And one of the things that's great about it is it can accommodate many players. Now, we mentioned the Amiga version had the ability to accommodate up to 5 players. How? There was a parallel port adapter that you could buy, and you can still buy these, by the way, that will hook in and give you 2 extra joystick ports, pure and simple. And you can plug 2 joysticks in there, 2 joysticks in the normal port, have a guy on the keyboard, you got 5 players. It's that simple. 5 players. What's the most players you've played at this boat?
I believe that I had a Sega Saturn. And I had 2. I believe that the Sega Saturn version, and I'm sure somebody in the chat's going to correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that you could do 8-player Bomberman with the Saturn version. And I had the setup. The problem was I did not have 8 friends.
Oh, no,
but I would set it up, and it was weird because when you played in that mode, the game did not look like this. It shifted perspective entirely, and all of the characters were super small on the screen. But it was doable, and it was one of the cool things about the Saturn.
Yeah, that's one thing the Saturn is sort of the version you always hear about. And I believe this was made less of an issue when the 360 came around, because I believe there's a version of this on the 360 that will let you play, and going forward, that will let you play remotely, or in the net or whatnot.
Yeah, and I believe that there were even versions before then that had some sort of limited remote play.
Yeah.
But the 360, because of Xbox Live, was the first one that really took off. I remember playing this transcontinentally with your brother and with Jamie when I was living in Korea, and they were, of course, in the United States playing Bomberman on the 360. So that was a really cool experience.
Now, and I do know, I'm pretty sure I've heard the guys who are at Pixel Gate and said that they've played the 8-player version on the Saturn. If Boat Fest goes down, I'll bring the Saturn out. We'll have to get a couple multi-taps, and we'll go to work. All we need to do is find 8 Saturn controllers. That shouldn't be too hard, right? So Now, you mentioned that this game plays a lot differently in two-player mode. Aside from the obvious difference in the way the screen looks, one of the differences is you get a bunch of additional like power-ups, pickups. Can you kind of go over some of those and what they do both?
This is one of the things that has probably changed the most in Bomberman, because the core gameplay of Bomberman has remained unchanged throughout the ages, but the actual the power-ups have become a lot more extensive. In this game, you've got the flame. It looks like a little smiley flame. He wants to be your friend. It makes the explosions bigger. You can place multiple bombs if you collect the bomb power up. There's the roller skates, so everything moves. The game speed is faster. Now, this is what the manual says. I know that when you collect the roller skates in later versions of Bomberman, or maybe you have to be playing multiplayer for this to really make a difference. But like when you're going faster and everybody else is going slower, that's obviously an advantage. You've got the remote control bomb. You've got the painted bomb, which is weird. You can pass through it, so it's like you paint a bomb on the floor and then it blows up. You've got an extra guy. There's a painted wall that you can pass through that other people can't. And then finally, you have the jacket. And the jacket allows you, it's like the guy from the Hurt Locker. You become him, basically.
Okay. I've never seen that, so
I haven't.
The reference is lost.
I think I'd watch something like that, but it's a bomb disposal guy.
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Now, when you play this, the few times I've played this multiplayer, but I gotta ask, what's the strategy? And I've never fully grasped what you're supposed to. It just seems so random to me. What's going on?
Well,
is
what
there
you
strategy?
the strategy is that early on, you're not trying to kill the other guys. Early on, you're trying to determine the best way to bomb out the walls so you can collect the most amount of power-ups. And so you're sort of like you're scouting out your little area of the map and trying to bomb things the most efficiently so you can uncover the most power-ups.
I see.
And then it's just all about, it's like sort of like playing combat or any other overhead game where you're trying to trap the enemy. You're trying to see where he's going, lay a bomb in his way, maybe distract him with something, and then hope that it blows up. Now, in the thing that makes this game fun is the hilarity that ensues, just like in Worms, where you fire a shot, you end up blowing yourself up, or something like that happens, or you throw a bomb and it gets thrown back at you. All these things. So it's the interactivity with the other players that makes it fun. This is not a tremendously deep strategy game. This is a fast action game. You can play a bunch of rounds in it and not a lot of time, and the rounds go by so quickly that if you go out early. Well, in some of the later games, you actually take part. You become a Bomberman that goes around the outside of the arena, and he can toss bombs in while the other players are still playing. But eventually, when the time starts to grow short, the arena size gets smaller and smaller, and then the intensity ramps up. So this is definitely. I'm sort of surprised that you don't like this one. I think if you played some more rounds of the multiplayer version, I think you might warm up to it, because it does seem like your kind of game.
I don't know. I will say the idea of a guy standing on the walls throwing bombs, that they must have ripped that off from bar games. The wet T-shirt contest guy. Remember that?
I've always thought that too. I know those guys over at Hudson Soft. They were playing bar games pretty much nonstop.
It's a shame, of course, that came out well after this, but still, sure.
They were thinking about it.
Why isn't there a wet T-shirt element in this? So, as I do, I was going back and trying to figure out what. Because the manual, we both admit, it's very sparse. Okay, do you have any idea that there's a plot in this game?
Oh, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's a female bomber woman that needs to be rescued. Am I on the right track here?
So according to the Wikster, this is the Bomberman wiki here.
Okay.
The original Japanese home computer game had no storyline. Okay.
Right.
But the NES and Game Boy versions. It says here, Punk Boy. Okay, Bomberman for the Famicom and Atomic Punk for the Game Boy begin with Bomberman, who worked day in day out making bombs in an underground compound, but he dreamed of Liberty Boat, and who doesn't?
We all do.
He plotted his escape. And so he used bombs to escape. Good move, Bomberman. It makes sense. So he used bombs to destroy his enemies. And when he reaches the surface, he transformed into an organic human being and became known as the Runner. All right?
Ooh.
So this Bomberman was basically a bomb-making robot or slave of some sort, and he bombed his way out the door, basically. Now, how that plot would affect the rest of the game is unknown to me, but that it did strike me as odd. I always like it when they put some kind of wacky plot into a game that was obviously designed well after the plot came up, and that was one of these.
Well, here's the thing. On the NES, every game had to have a story. I think that was part of Nintendo's sort of like, if you want to publish a game, you got to have a story. And also, the NES version didn't have multiplayer. So you had to have something. They had to put a story in.
Yeah, did they really though? And I'm sure, and you're right. As Bomberman 45 got released, I bet they really had pulled that story into some weird territory by now. So let's talk about the fact that there are 70 of these or more. Boat. I asked.
Well,
go ahead.
I think that the 70 games are not all Bomberman games. I'm sure there's a Bomberman kart racer. There's a Bomberman endless runner.
A Bomberman kart racer sounds pretty good to me. I'm gonna get behind that. So I'm just looking here at they've got a timeline here, Boat, okay? And so from 1985 until 2020. By the way, if you're curious, Super Bomberman R online is available if you're interested. I like how they stuck an R in there, just the letter R.
Well, it's like DX, that's the thing.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the thing, but it is.
It's strange. Like New Rally X has the new Pac-Man Championship DX. You just put random things at the end of your game.
Now
That's what you do.
You've played more than a couple of these Bombermans, all right? I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
So can you explain to me what different shakes do they come down with in these Bombermans? Because to me, it seems like aside from having different power-ups, there doesn't seem like there's a lot of room for expansion in a game like this.
Well, okay. Did they need to make more than one Worms game after the first one?
But Worms, there's a lot more you could do with the concept of Worms. Let me rephrase.
There's a lot
Hold
more
on.
you can do.
I can think of more to do. I'm not saying there's nothing you can do, but I can't think of what you could do. So what'd they do?
It all comes down, just like with Worms, it all comes down to the power-ups. You add a bunch of different power-ups and you've got a new game. Now, is it a radically different game? No. But, normally what happens is these games launch with a console because there's lots of people that like Bomberman and they want to play it on their new console with their friends. So
I see. Well, that does make sense then. Now, has this game ever went into the genre of 3D like Worms did? Is there can I play a 3D version of Bomberman?
That's a great question.
Or VR?
Surely in some point, maybe in the PS1 era, they tried a 3D Bomberman, but I've never seen one.
Yeah. So we mentioned that amongst the systems that this got a port of this game, one of these was in fact the TurboGrafx 16, aka the PC Engine. When I say these both got ports of the game, I mean almost identical. We've got it side by side here, and you can see that the Bomberman off the TurboGrafx is almost identical to the Amiga version. I'm pretty sure the TurboGrafx is probably the one they based the Amiga version on. This made me and Boat have to wonder, or before the show started, why didn't we see more games from the TurboGrafx moved over to the Amiga? The Amiga pulls this thing off effortlessly.
Yeah, and the ones that we did, they made weird. I mean, obviously they could just do. It seems like it would be easy. Now, of course, knowing nothing, but they managed to do a pretty, sprite by sprite reconstruction of this game for the Amiga. Why didn't they do that with BC Kid? With BC Kid, they redesigned the whole thing, and in a lot of ways, they made it worse.
BC Kid. I thought they did a good job.
Well, I'm not saying they did a bad job, but I'm saying why didn't they just bring it over if they could do it as easily as they did with Bomberman?
That's a good. You mean just like a straight port? I don't know. Right. It makes me wonder why we didn't get some of the awesome shooters that they had on the TurboGrafx.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't see a market for it. It's the only thing I can guess. Or maybe they just didn't want to dip their toe in that pool.
It's possible that maybe they were locked in. Maybe a lot of those shooters for the PC Engine were only available on the PC Engine, and of course they all came from Japanese developers, and maybe they didn't see the huge untapped market potential of the Amiga.
Can we both agree, because I know you like the TurboGrafx, the PC, I do too. We could agree that there would be no reason why the Amiga could not run those games.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
they could run anything on the TurboGrafx.
Yeah,
I'm sure the Amiga.
I would have loved to have seen some of the bigger games from the TurboGrafx get ported over the Amiga, but that's the way it goes. And the sad thing is, a lot of those TurboGrafx games didn't get a whole lot of play in Europe or in the or in America that probably would have done fairly well on the Amiga, But missed opportunity on that one, Boatster. So, long story short, a very, very faithful version of Bomberman is Dyna Blaster. This game was well received when it was released, Boatster. It did quite well on the old Lemon, receiving a score of 8.57, which that's exceptionally high for the Lemon folks. The magazines gave this an overall cumulative rating of 85%, ranging from a 93 in Amiga Action down to an 83 in Amiga Power. I think this game is one of those games that people like it or they're either fond of it or they're not. I don't hate the game. I think it's a well done game. The art's nice, the sound's nice. There's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't do it for me. Did we get any Discord action on this?
We did, and I have not pulled it up because I'm derelict in my duties. We got a couple reviews. People loved this game, I can tell you that. We're gonna start things off with Law Exterminator. He calls Dyna Blaster the ultimate Amiga party game. This game alone justifies purchasing a 4-player joystick adapter for your Amiga. It's a game that is fired up pretty much every time I have retro-inclined friends over. It may lack depth for longer sessions, but it's always good for a few intense bouts of screaming and laughing. 9 out of 10. And Pixels of Dawn writes, if there's one game you can be sure will be played in any given session of Amiga Live, it's this one. As with its ports on other systems, this port of the PC Engine version of Bomberman is one of the best party games on the platform. Graphics look as cute as you'd expect, and the music is compelling and fun. The single player is also good fun, although it can get repetitive if the standard gameplay loop doesn't thrill you, especially on the more than one screen levels. Plus, it doesn't have much in the way of bosses in the single player. Still an excellent game that I enjoy every time I play it. And I'm glad Pix brought that up. The game really stumbles, in my opinion. I played the first 10 or so levels in single player in preparation for the show. And when you start getting into the scrolling levels, it's really just more of the same. And it is a drag. You know, that single player game with as little variation as there is.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there are more than one. I got to the first quote unquote boss level, which was sort of horrible. So yeah, don't play this game and expect great things in single player mode. Its beauty shines in the multiplayer.
That might explain my attitude towards it, because I almost always play this by myself, and it's okay. I mean, there's fun to be had, but it does get old, and then so there you go. And also the way the monsters stuff move, it gets to the point where I don't want to say it's randomy feeling, but I mean maybe it's just I'm not very good, but sometimes I feel like, man, I kind of got screwed there, so
right.
There's that.
Right. Now, we did get some corrections for people in the chat. Saturn Bomberman is actually 10 players. 10 players,
two 4 taps and the 2 built-ins, I guess, or something like that.
And Bomberman 64 was the 3D version of Bomberman. Now, it's not all out like horrible Worms 3D type 3D. They're just 3D rendered models, but that did exist. So thank you to Neil for bringing that up. So it's always good to have the chat being able to show us the way with this stuff.
Well, I will say neither one of us are going to get anywhere near 10 players on Saturn, so that was an easy one to miss that time around. Yeah. That's a tough one. I did look. Now get this, Boat. I thought I was interested to look this. I looked this up on eBay because we both know that Bomberman's really popular, and so I thought that perhaps this might get a lot of action. Okay, now I was confirmed right out of the gate, sort of, when the first one of these I saw. There's a fellow in Germany selling one of these on eBay right now, but it's sealed. Okay, sealed Amiga version. Okay. He's asking the best offer out of $900 US dollars.
That seems high.
Well, that's what I thought. There's a fellow selling an open one in the UK for $300, which also seemed high. But I did see one of these that sold for $77, which is pretty high.
Well, that's a third of the price.
Right, but I'm just saying, listen, these guys are fishing. but still $77. That's a pretty ample price tag.
It is. It's
So
not cheap. Yeah.
you're gonna probably pay. I mean, and I will say the box art on this is great. I will if you're watching the video, I think the box art's real cute.
Yeah.
By the way, you can still get these serial adapters. I said parallel earlier. I meant serial. 4-player serial adapter for the Amiga. You can get one for $23, and it supports a whole list of games, not just this one. So it looks like it supported probably 15 games or more. So that's out there. It might be kind of we should try to get one of those. Well, I think we're mostly using the Mister and stuff now, but still, it might be kind of fun to have 4 players on something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and leave Dyna Blaster, Aaron, and scoot on over to the YouTube page. What's been going on over there this week?
Well, a pretty decent week we had here, Boat. We're going to start off, as we often do, with myself and the Brent this week on ARG Presents. Now, listen, Boat. I love getting out there and getting into some weird stuff. And the wheel piece we ran this week was illegal games. I didn't think that'd be that hard of a week of games, but I mean, it was really tough to find illegal games. Games that were removed from the market or whatnot. Brent jumped all over this one with Casey Munchkin for the Odyssey 2, which is an excellent choice. One of the few choices that really mean anything. And I know you've played Casey Munchkin.
Weren't you against having Casey Munchkin on the show vehemently?
I was. Because, see, I didn't understand. I was thinking in another direction. Than what Brent was. I wasn't thinking of things that were removed from the shelves. I was thinking of things that could not be made because they were illegal. So it was, I don't know. I've relented. Also, I was voted down and yelled at. But Casey Munchkin was a good choice. By the way, this is a great game. It's a must-play on Odyssey 2. I really had to dig deep this week, Boat, but I ended up coming up with a game that I couldn't believe existed. It was called My Little Pony Fighting is Magic. It's a My Little Pony-based fighting game. Now, I like me some fighting games, Boat.
Yeah.
And this game was almost completed when Hasbro said, hey, wait a minute, no one asked us if you could do this, and shut them down. But the reason I could get away with this was they actually turned this game into a commercial release. And the commercial release is called Them's Fighting Herds, which is the all-time greatest name for a fighting game.
What? Say that again?
Them's Fighting Herds.
Okay.
It's animal fighting.
Right.
They basically reskinned all the ponies with different types of animals, goats and, I don't know, skunks, whatever.
Okay.
And you can buy this right now on Steam. And so I'm waiting for the next time we get a fighting game week, because that's gonna be my choice for sure. But anyway, if you want to learn about the wacky story of how My Little Pony Fighting is Magic came into being, and the also wacky story of how Casey Munchkin came into not being, check us out. I've really enjoyed this episode. Had a lot of fun on that one. So next on the docket here, Boat, I actually enjoyed this too. This is when me and you fired up the Coco show for a little sweet action on the Coco game Polaris.
Yeah.
What'd you think of this one, Boat?
I was not expecting to like this one.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, Missile Command should not take place against a neon green sky.
Oh, yeah, it should. That's what the sky looks like when the nukes are falling, man.
Right. But I've got to say, this is probably the most faithful home port of this game that I've ever played. Aside from you shooting missiles out of subs instead of your silos, being able to shoot from the multiple locations, having them displayed on the screen, in a graphical way that your missile reserves. The difficulty level ramped up at a pace that I could appreciate. What is that?
One of the few games that makes the Black Beauties awesome.
Oh yeah, right.
Joysticks. It works great with the analog on this. I knew this was a winner. I knew it was because I'd played this before. It makes all the difference being able to fire independently from your bases. That's a huge difference. Plus, having supreme control over the pointer, that equals this is one of the top Coco games in my opinion. If you like Missile Command, by the way, but it's funny, we had the pleasure of the weekend of being able to play and look at an actual Missile Command in the arcade. and which was really neat to see because it's been a while hadn't a boat. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, we had a lot of fun on this one. Video gets a little out of sync at the beginning, but I did the best I could with it. You should be good to go once you start watching. So check it out. That's Polaris on the Coco Show this week.
Yeah, and if you do watch Polaris and you hear Aaron announce that we're going to be playing Pit Stop 2, we're not. We're gonna do that in 2 months. The next game we're gonna do is Tandy Color Baseball.
Tandy, how appropriate. Now, our weekly offering from our good buddy, the Hermsky. This time out, Boat. It's another walkthrough of a graphical text adventure game. This time out, it's 10 little endings. By the way, look at that cool he's got a cool symbol now. I like that. Boat, 10 little endings. Look at this. This thing is even animated. Did you see that?
Yeah. I'm constantly amazed at the quality, but I think it's just because these games were so prevalent on the Spectrum.
Yeah.
That the coders really tried to go above and beyond to make their games stand out among all the other graphical text adventures, and they really do a good job.
Yeah, and I don't know how Hermsky can remember all this stuff. Quite amazing. If you want to watch, first of all, Hermsky has a great channel you should check out, and he also does great stuff for us. If you want to check out any of his stuff, I strongly urge you to, especially if you're a big fan of these sorts of games in the old ZX Spectrum. He's gone through quite a few of these now. Boat, and I'm sure he's got an eternity of them left to do because they made a million of these things. So that's 10 Little Endings adventure walkthrough with Hermsky this week. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Last on the docket here, Boat, is our good buddy Frodo. Frodo, soon to be different colored hair. Frodo, take a look right now. That's his hair now, but in not too distant future, there's going to be a whole different hairstyle for Frodo. But this time out, Boat, this is right up your alley. The first years of the Nintendo Game Boy. Now, actually, how old were you in 1989, Boat?
I was 8. I was prime Game Boy age.
Did you have a Game Boy in that time?
I got a Game Boy in 1991.
So pretty close.
Pretty close.
Now, I know you're a fan. What are the early Game Boy titles that stand out to you? Do you recall any that were your favorites amongst your favorites?
Yeah, well, Super Mario World or Super Mario Land 2, not the first one, but the second one that really looked like a Mario game.
Yeah, that one was
great.
Yeah,
but the game that changed my life was when I first got Final Fantasy Legend 2. I got that pretty early on, and having a full Japanese role-playing game in the palm of my hand where I could sit there in bed and level up and, take it on the road with me. It was, I was so blown away by that. It still stuck with me. And that was also, I met one of my best friends because I was sitting in Mr. Cleek's class. Did you have Mr. Cleek for health?
I never heard of him, Boat.
Oh, okay. Well, he was one of the old guard, but maybe not so old as you. But anyway, we're sitting in there and I saw him reading this Nintendo Power and I was like, man, you into games? And he was like, yeah.
That's what you said. It's like a drug dealer. So you into games?
and so, but anyway, we started talking about Final Fantasy Legend 2, and he became one of my best friends all through high school. So yeah, lots of memories. But the Game Boy had some great stuff in those first couple of years, but it also had some real not great stuff. The Game Boy, of course, all of the Game Boy systems sort of famous for questionable quality.
I agree. I want to say, Boat, the original Game Boy, as old as it is, as ugly as it is, it's kind of bulky. What an amazing... I don't think people appreciate it now like they should, because this, having been around before there was anything, this wasn't just something. It was awesome. Sure, It was green. It had no backlit screen. But my God, I'm telling you, in the car rides, compared to not having a little thing like this, it was so boring. The car, and then something like this comes along, it's like you couldn't have dreamed it. I mean, sincerely,
because the handheld things that came before this, of course there was the Lynx, but nobody had a Lynx. Discounting that, you had the little Tiger LCD games, or you had the old, Mattel baseball that was just the flashing lights.
I had stuff that have like water in it, and you hit the little button to shoot bubbles and make rings go over stuff,
right?
Or stuff with little marbles in it. And don't get me wrong, those were fun. My mom would get me some, and but I mean, if you consider there's a little thing with marbles in it, and then you put it up against this, it's ludicrous. The
Yeah.
the leap
Yeah,
is
because you're
unbelievable.
having this was the first time you could have an experience, like a real video game experience that you'd have at home on the go.
Yeah.
And you didn't hear people complaining about the green screen. They couldn't believe it. They were like, "This is awesome."
Yeah, and
So,
the sound was
yeah.
awesome.
Oh,
And the
the
thing is,
music in the original
oh,
Game Boy
yeah.
is killer.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
killer.
and the thing is, you were talking about Mario Land stuff. Like I had played the Mario games on the NES, right? Which, by the way, hadn't been out too long before this came
Right.
out. Here's this thing, and you're playing these games. Do they look identical? No, but do they look near per? You're like, I'm playing this in the car. It's
Right.
unbelievable. So there you go. What a great system this was, and probably all the Game Boys, with a few hiccups along the way, were all top shelf. Nintendo knows how to do portable. That's no doubt about that. Bo, what did you and the Neilster talk about this week?
Oh, we got into all kinds of stuff. So this week we talked about there is actually a kit out there where you can make your own ZX81. So if you've been itching to get the soldering iron out and build yourself one of the, you can actually build a ZX80 or a ZX81, two of the computers that really set the stage for the Spectrum. The Spectrum had ended up eclipsing them, but you couldn't have had the Spectrum without the ZX80 and the ZX81. So we talk about that. There is now, Aaron, this is going to be something that's right up your alley. There's a new game called Wing Leader that uses all of the assets from the original Wing Commander game and takes everything to the next level in terms of the speed, the amount of ships on screen. And this guy is actually creating a new game with the Wing Commander assets called Wing Leader. What do you think about that?
I had heard about this. And it's enticing. It's an enticing possibility. We'll have to see how they do it. I've heard.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah, this is the upcoming
the show
one,
that we're talking about is going to be released tomorrow. I just realized that.
That's
So
all right.
That's why you can't find any of the stories.
Yeah, I knew what you were doing. You're plugging, Boat. You're plugging.
Yeah.
You're a pro.
By the time, guess what? By the time you hear this, the show will be out.
That's right.
So. But anyway, it's always a party. Me and Neil get together once a week and hash out the week's most popular stories as voted by the This Week in Retro subreddit. We talk about a lot of retro computing stuff, a lot of classic arcade stuff, whatever is hot. That's what we're talking about.
Those Redditors could go crazy sometimes too. They never know what they're going to come up with. It's interesting the way those stories are determined. You never know you literally never know what they're going to come up with. Very good stuff, but I'm looking forward to that one big time. That's pretty much all we got there, Boaster.
All right. Well, let's head on over to our community section of the podcast. We have 2 high score challenges going on right now. We've got a brand new one. This one's called Helter Skelter. Aaron, have you played Helter Skelter on the Amiga?
Helter Skelter. No.
That's right.
I'm saying it.
I'm guessing that's a no.
No.
So you can jump in and play some Helter Skelter. It's called a fun little platformer with a twist. Over on the Specky High score, we are playing Jetpack, Aaron, and I'm going to jump in with a Jetpack score either tonight or tomorrow. I love me some Jetpack, so that'll be fun.
That's a fun game.
And
that's a beauty.
If you are a member of our Discord community, like you can be if you support the show on Patreon or through becoming a Twitch subscriber, you can vote on an Amigathon donation prize. So Neil from RMC has graciously decided to donate a prize to the Amigathon drawings. When you donate, you automatically get entered to win. And we have 2 choices: either a signed copy of his Retro Tea Breaks book, or the Hoffman The Cave Sessions double vinyl record. So the votes are actually pretty close right now. We got 5 in favor of the Tea Breaks book and 7 in favor of the record. So you can jump in and cast your vote. And on next week's show, we will have the drawing, or we'll have the results of that poll. And of course, Amigathon coming up. We'll have more news about that as it approaches. We're closing in on the 1 month till go time on Amigathon, Aaron.
I will say, Neil's Tea Break book is outstanding.
Yes.
And I've heard selections from the Hoffman. It's also good, so you can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong.
Neil's got he's got his thumb in all sorts of crazy pies. He's got all kinds of sticks in the fire, Bode, and we appreciate that. It's awesome. We really appreciate the donation there.
Yeah. All right. And I'll tell you what else we appreciate, Aaron, and that is our awesome, awesome Twitch subscribers. You can subscribe to Twitch if you enjoy watching the show live. We do the show live every Friday at 5:30 or at 5. I guess we're moving back to 5 because things have improved at the Dowdy
You
household in
got that
terms of
right.
on Friday. So you can even if you are a Amazon Prime subscriber, you get one free sub a month, and that helps support us financially. Or you can just subscribe regularly. I want to thank the following people. We got Macintosh Librarian, Mitsuyama, Pints and Amiga, Daw Crabs MTG, Eeyore 4077, Scumboy, Blow Jellyfish, Frodo NL, Blue Train, OROM, Rob O'Hara, Great Algae, Explorer, ChronosNet, Negsol, Jigglebox, Christian Russell, Uber Scuba Diver, Amy Steph, Peeplo, Luminate08, Gary Heather, Buck Owens, Retro Jerry, Paco Take, Smenediger1. So thank you guys so much for supporting us through Twitch.
Thank you.
Now, Aaron, last week we had a Patreon song, and I put up sort of a special challenge on the Discord. I put up a video of me just playing the bass guitar part. And I told everybody it was a Beatles song. I didn't make it too hard. And we actually got some people that were able to guess the song just from the bass part. We had L. Curtis Boyle, Mitsuyama, and boss man Paul Harrington. All got it
They also
correct.
probably managed to get to the whole song without retching because there were no
Yeah,
vocals involved. So that was probably not the worst thing to do.
yeah. The and for the final version, the version with the vocal, Ben's got it right. Blip Blop, Hermsky, TMX Online, Jigglebox, The Slow Norris, Chris Folds, and CBM Nut. So congratulations to all of you for getting the Patreon song correct.
You know, the difficulty of your songs range from so obvious it's unbelievable to the most inobvious college music B-side ever not released.
That's how we do it.
That's
how we
how it
do it.
is.
Yeah. So this week we're dialing it back, Aaron. We're going back to the old days. You might want to queue up your clips for the next Boat of Car musical gauntlet for this one.
Are you you're calling your shot here? Your shot of
This
horribleness?
this is going to be an a cappella one, and
It's
it
been a
goes a little
while.
something like this. Ram okay, Rom okay, David Terrace, Drew Carlos, Matthew Bobius, The Phantom Magnus, Seth Yates, Alistair Fiend, Christian Russell, David Z, George Rosansky, The Amiga Show, Daniel Crafty, Super Family King, Crazy Loomis, Van Scar, Heavy Systems Inc., Bundy Frag Lord, Mark Byland, Olaf Hope, Hermsky, Jonah, aka Simulant, Alien Breeder, David Velociraptor, Calbert Boy, Lane Denson, Luke Hudson, John Cook, Bomb the Bass, Frodo and El Sol Incisor, Tech Made Jurgen, Mr. Cola, Daniel Williams, Bernard Lucas, Jerry Dennington, Zorg Lab Reflection, Simon Ledge, Cap and Crispy Kilobytes and Caffeine, Gary Heather Free Lunch, Kate Fox, David Pickford, Cameron Armstrong, Andy Jones, Lobsterminator, 10-minute Amiga, Retro Cast, Bernard Quinn, RMC, Tim Drew, Simon Rose, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Ed, Rob O'Hara, Matthew Larimore, Andy Craig, Sean Zabarkman, Roland Berg, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie Leaf, Kellon, Alan Kebab, Chico Ted, Little Lemon, Just Show, Matthew Perron, Ricky the Roche, Creepy Dead Boy, Figure City Z, The Slow Norris, Stefan Saul, Gordon Mortensen, Alfred, Hello, and Blindo 75. Christopher Hassel, Ravi Abbott, Chris Foles, Lauren Giroux, Graham Bebke, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Huck, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles, Tapes from the Crib, Josh Nan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THC, Eric Nelson, Kim Tommy Humbert's dad, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Warnes, Pixels at Dawn, and Kjolbjorn Barman.
What is this?
Those are my moves.
That's
when I do my moves.
that
I do
looks
my
like the
dance
limp
moves.
fish or something. What is that?
That's
You look like
well,
one of those old Scooby-Doo zombies. They're singing.
listen. When I was at parties back in college and I saw the cute girl across the room, that's when I busted it out.
Who are you kidding? You didn't go to college or parties.
Well, that's all. None of that is false. So we want to thank our illustrious Amigos Game Selection Committee for choosing the games this week that we played. And of course, we want to thank the fine folks in the chat that have joined us live right now. Let's see, who do we have? We've got a pretty nice crowd out there tonight. We've got our awesome moderators, Duncan Styles, Pixels at Dawn. Thank you guys so much for being here and keeping the chat in order. We've also got Tenmark has joined us, Academy Impossible, Amiga Gamer 1200, Amiga Live, Atten, Band of Raiden, Barkbit, Bitstorm, Blipblop, Brock 101, Buck Owens, Butterberg 3000, Carbon 14XYZ, Brian, Commander Root, Dave's Donuts is here, and Dave Velociraptor, Dusty Hailstorm, Edvin Helland, Frodo and L, Henry Flush, Hermsky, Jason Warnes, Jost 80, L, Curtis Boyle, All Hail, Litwarski, Lobsterminator, Matt Dufort, Makia 3000, Mitsuyama, Nyakan, Oram, Olav Hope, Omega Chipru, Picard 2010, R Typer, Ricky DeRocher, RMC Retro, Rob O'Hara, Rogue Girl, Sad Girl, Super Tech Boy, Tom Toms, Treyguard 82, V&K, Vigoro Pros, and Explorer.
Nice.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us this evening. We've had a lot of fun. Pixels at Dawn, thank you for suggesting this game, Dyna Blaster, to the Amigos Game Selection Committee. And Aaron, next week, our title, it's Edutainment Week.
Again?
Edutainment Week has rolled around again. We're going to be playing The Castle of Dr. Brain.
Oh, okay. You know, I will say, I always feel a little sick when edutainment comes. But every edutainment thing we've done, we've liked every single one. So by God, I'm going to get excited about that. What's it called again?
The Castle of Dr. Brain.
Ooh, Castle of Dr. Brain.
It was suggested by our buddy Da Krabs.
All right. I'm going to get excited about this one, but plus I need a little edutainment now and again.
Yeah, who doesn't? Who doesn't? All right, guys. Thanks as always for listening. We'll see you next week. Until then,
adios.